This is Radar for On the Radar Tape Blog, coming to another edition of Movie Reviews and Observation, number 66. So the first movie I watched was The Informer, and Joel Kinnaman, I gotta give him credit. He really sold this role as this, like, ex-con, Polish, mafia, all this other stuff, where he's really trying his best to keep his family safe, but he's gotta go undercover by the FBI, and of course, when he tries to do that, he's afraid that the FBI and the police are going to go after him. He's going to get screwed over by the Polish mob and his family. And so basically, he has to figure out a way to be safe from people and to make his family safe. And you're like, okay, so you get famous actors in this movie, to be in here like Rosamund Pike and Clive Owen, and then the rapper and philanthropist Common in the movie, and Common's detective, and the other ones are FBI agents. So we're like, yeah, let's get some big time actors. And I was like, I didn't know it was Rosamund Pike until I looked at the box, because trying to remember what she looks like, and Clive Owen. I was like, okay, it's been a while since I've seen him, and all three of them played their law enforcement roles pretty well. But overall, if it weren't for Joel Kinnaman really selling his role as the ex-con, with his connections to the Polish mafia and all this other stuff, and this crime boss, and going undercover and doing all these things, then it just would have been a bad movie. But overall, for an hour 42-minute movie with credits, not the worst movie, not the best movie, but Joel Kinnaman really sold it. Then I watched the movie Wander, where you're like, cool, Aaron Eckhart, cool, Tommy Lee Jones, and then you get the likes of Heather Graham and Catherine Winnick, and you're looking at it like, okay, it's only 9-something minutes, you're not wasting a lot of time watching it, but basically, he's a private investigator. Supposedly, Tommy Lee Jones' is friend, he helps him, then he's got a love interest or like a friend, and it's all the other stuff, because he's trying to figure out the conspiracy around the cover-up that caused the death of his daughter years ago, and he's trying to connect all these loose ends, and he's not taking care of himself, and not taking care of his pet. And the problem with this movie is you're not sure if he's in the mental asylum, or because of this crazy conspiracy theory about his daughter and all the lengths he went through and pissing people off and them trying to cover things up, that they put him in the mental institute, and he's not really a private investigator. And if he is, he's only in there because the people that were covering it up put him in there. So it was very confusing and trying to figure this out. And I'm just like, I think this one of the women in this movie, I saw her in the show Big Sky or something, because I have not recognized some of these people. But I'm sorry, Aaron Eckhart, like, he really got into this role and really sold it. That it was just confusing, all over the place, not a great script. Just wasn't the best movie I watched before. So it's just like, I wouldn't suggest watching this. Then I watched the movie 1BR. So basically, this girl goes out to Hollywood, thinks she's found the apartment, trying to get herself an acting job, and it turns into a cult where you have to be a part of this apartment complex. You got to follow the rules. If you don't follow the rules, there's trouble, and it's just basically her trying to escape from this cult of an apartment, and that's pretty much the movie. And it's 80-something minutes, so it's not like you waste a long time to watch it. But I just like, yeah, I kind of get it. You basically understand from the moment that they punish her for breaking the rules and realize she can't get out. So the whole movie, is she going to get out or not? So it's just 1BR is just a waste of time as well. I don't watch Born a Champion. And here's the thing. Sean Patrick, Flannery, and Dennis Quaid are big-time actors in this movie. But really, it's really him deciding, I'm going to do the screenplay, directing, all of this stuff, just in order for me to play this role of this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, black belt master, who in one of his professional fights, the other guy cheated, and the whole movie is like flash forwarding all the way from that moment to when he has to fight the guy, his life, all the ups and downs with marriage and children and medical conditions, and him just accepting that he's no longer going to be fighting, and he just basically just teaches, martial arts, and he's just happy with the life he is. But then he has to go back to go fight the guy because online videos surfaced of all of his fights from the past. And, the way MMA was in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, it wasn't really popular, so this all overseas. So it's like an inspirational story of you got to go back and you got to continue to fight, get revenge for the guy screwing you over in the first fight and cheating and ruining somewhat your career and your health, and doing it for your wife, your children, all this stuff. So it wasn't a bad movie, and being an hour 51 minutes, not that long. But Dennis Quaid being on the cover of the box and on, being credited, he's barely in the movie. He's like one of these promoter people. It's like, yeah, the movie's really about him and his journey with his best friend, his wife, and other people. And it wasn't that bad. It was better than the first three movies I, mentioned. So Born a Champion, Dear Library, it should be an action, not an action movie. It should be a drama. Then I watched She Dies Tomorrow, and they put it as a drama. I think it's more of a horror film because this girl basically thinks she's gonna die tomorrow. She's freaking out, and her friend goes to check on her. Then her friend thinks she's gonna die tomorrow. Brings that to her brother and her sister-in-law, who's from the League and FX, the League and the League and Legion. So it was pretty cool to see her, Katie Aston, in this movie, and pretty much the movie was just everybody thinking they're gonna die tomorrow, and them trying to go through it with all these different experiences. And I was like, yeah, it's like 1BR. It just wasn't that great of a movie to be sitting through. Then 12-Hour Shift, I don't know why the library listed as a comedy. I would think more as a horror film, more as a drama, where there's, in the 90s, these nurses are trying to sell organs. The one nurse is a drug addict, and her stupid cousin, through marriage, is the one that's supposed to pick up the organ, screws it up, and she's got to come back and get another one, and that causes more problems with, there's a criminal, murderer in the hospital. The guys are after the cousin. She's there, and they're trying to figure out what they can do, and it's all in like one night. So it's 8-something minutes, but it's basically them screwing up this organ and drugs like run and giving to people and selling them and stuff, and pretty much everything goes bad except in the end. Except for the main character, they're not going to screw her over. But just nonsense in this movie of this nurse pulling a double shift. So it's like, okay, cool. It's another interesting movie, but again, the wrong genre. Then I ended the week with watching this Frank Zappa documentary that was about 2 hours and 27 minutes. And I'm familiar with who he is, his music, his style, and his elegance, and everything he was interested in. It wasn't just making money; it was about making music, connection, all this stuff. And it's the whole point of watching documentaries is that you learn something new about somebody or the subject, and you get to more appreciation. So I'm probably gonna go back and listen to more Frank Zappa movie. If it's not your thing, that's one thing, but it was a pretty good documentary to learn more about him. But I'm going to pick the best movie I watched this week. It was Born a Champion, despite, the script not being that great, because they're trying to base off somewhat of a true story, so it wasn't bad. 12-Hour Shift, 1BR, She Dies Tomorrow. Not the greatest scary movies. And then Informer was only good because Joel Kinnaman really sold it, and they had big-time actors in there, and Wander was just way over the top and confusing. Thanks for listening to others to Movie Reviews Observations number 66. For On the Radar Entertainment Blog, I'm Radar. See you guys next time.